right, Shabbat Shalom, fam. Shabbat Shalom. Here we go again. Here we go again. Just got finished doing some grounding. All right, there you go. Shabbat Yah Shalom, big brother. Yeah, there you go. Yep. Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Yah Shalom, fam. Welcome in, welcome back in. Oh, the sun that came back out. It looked like it was ready to start. Almost going to quench the earth some with some of those waters and stuff like that. Yeah, we're not gonna do that. Whatever that means. New things, great things, great works. That's what that means. But Shabbat Shalom, fam. Yeah, as the sun's coming back out, praise Yah. They put some water out for the birds a little bit. You know, just random watching and observing nature today on Shabbat as we get closer to Yah and things of that nature. Hey, Shalom Barak, Ak TJ, our Father's peace be upon you and yours. Great to see you again, Ak. There he goes. We're gonna get this one started. Just got finished doing some grounding, so I'm getting out. I was on the other. You know where I was at. I just realized that when you start saying, yeah, let me do my little quick thing. Then I'm gonna let the music play. I'm gonna go to the text and shoot him out real quick. Do your thing. Yeah, praise y'all. While he's doing that. We're gonna probably start off in Revelation 7. We're gonna go from there. Praise Yah. Praise Yah. Let me go ahead and get prepped. Shabbat Shalom, fam. Prayer for all's been well. Yeah, we'll probably start off at Revelation 7, and per usual, walk around a lot. You know, walk around a lot. Oh yeah, also let me see if gotta find just to share it. There she goes. Alright. Yep. A few more. I'm on. Yep. Hopefully y'all didn't stress. Get ready to walk through this word a little bit as we walking back to the campfire. Ready to see y'all. Ready to see everybody had time to come fellowship a little bit and get close with y'all on Shabbat. And as it is an honorable day about our Abba and rest in our Abba. So why not rest in His word, right? Come on. And when Big Brother gets back, we're going to play a song, and then pray, and then get into the Word. We're going to start off in Revelation, get Jasher out. We'll probably step through that a lot. And, of course, the testament of the 12 patriarchs, getting patriarchal, finding the originality of things and things of that nature. All right, here we go.
yet without strength in due time. Mashiach died for the unrighteous. But scarcely for a righteous man will one die. Yet peradventure for a good man some would even dare to die. But Allah commended his love toward us, and that while we were yet sinners, Mashiach died for us. My Messiah, I lift up your name and give you praise. My Messiah, I can always depend upon your name. My Messiah, that you always remain and you stay the same. My Messiah, I can always put trust in you. My Messiah, I lift up your name and give you praise. My Messiah, I can always put trust in your name. My Messiah, that you always remain and you stay the same. My Messiah, I can always put trust in your name. My Messiah, tick tock, still I wait upon your manifestation. Cause I done see you work so many favors in my life when I thought it wasn't going right. You was there when I thought it was over. When I had so much weight on my shoulders, I can always trust in you, cause you get me through. My Messiah, yes, I put my trust in you, yeah. My Messiah, my King, my Adonai, and you do I put my trust. It is in your hands that Yahuwah has placed me in, and you I am safe. For who you set free is free indeed, and your love is so comforting. Only by you can I walk purely, and I say hallelujah for you being my Messiah. My Messiah, I lift up your name and give you praise. My Messiah, I can always depend upon you now. My Messiah, that you always remain and you stay the same. My Messiah, I can always put trust in you. My Messiah, I lift up your name and give you praise. My Messiah, I can always put trust in your name. My Messiah, that you always remain and you stay the same. My Messiah, I can always put trust in your name. My Messiah, I don't need, I praise thee. I don't need my Messiah, my Messiah, my Messiah. I don't need Yahusha. I don't need, that's my Messiah, my Messiah, my Messiah. Yeah. Share the love, y'all.
I'm on. After this plays out, we're gonna go ahead and jump right into it.
Shalom. Yes, sir. I go by the name of Saint Lil. Brought to you by yours truly. We birthed of a nation. Yeah. We birthed of a nation. 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 We birthed of a nation.
on. To die for that. Shabbat shalom, fam. Shabbat shalom. Grateful to have everybody with us today on another Barak Shabbat. Those that are able to observe it today, per usual, as we know that they do move according to the moon cycles, but I'm able to observe this one, so grateful to have y'all observe this with me. As an everyday Shabbat, an opportunity to rest in the Father, but these things are ordained, and we do have practices in these from generation to generation from elders. But before we get too deep, as we know, it does get, we're going to go into prayer, and then we're going to jump right on in. Abba Yah, we coming for you today on another Shabbat to say to die for your gratefulness and for your revealings and for your reconsiderations and the rebirthing and showing us those things as we search for you in those hidden places, as those hidden things are observed and shown forth, just a glimpse of your impression on this earth at Arat, just a glimpse of your works, but how also there are many stones in these precious and places, and as there are many stones, there are many people and many situations that these go to, and as we dive deeper in, and less of ourselves and more of you is exemplified through our ears and our practices and our hands, the works of the hands as we're getting into, just to die for everything coming together as we are coming back together and getting back into that mindset of the garden of Adon or Eden, of the beginning, and seeing really what it is, searching for you through the bosom of Abraham as he looked for you as the creator of the heavens and the earth, as we sit in those in-between places. And not to get too much further deep, as we are here, we're going to go right into the lesson. Asham Yahava, Asham Yahashfai, Asham Ravak HaKodash, Aman, Aman, and Aman. All right. Because I can sit there and talk to y'all all day and forget that we got a lesson to get into. But, Shabbat Shalom, fam, Shabbat Shalom. We're going to start right off in, let's see. We're going to start off in Revelation 7. That's what I'm feeling like. Across this study, as we came back to the campfire, this study it covered a lot of things that went past my mind, Hebrew characters as well. So we're going to start off in Revelation 7, and as y'all turn in, I'm going to kind of bring everything together in a sense, and we're going to jump right on in. So we started in the 12 patriarchs, right? The testament of the 12 patriarchs, because we see nowadays it's very important to get patriarchal, to see the beginning of things, to know the natural things, to be able to see the supernatural in those things and how heavy it really is. And we went through Reuben or Ravban, right? Then we went to Simeon or Shamma'an, right? And then Levi, Judah or Levi or Yahavada, and now we're at Dan, right? So in Reuben, Shalom, Shabbat Shalom. In Reuben, we see that there was a trance in nature, right? There's a trance in nature that happened with Reuben that had him discouraged in the wrestling and the bindings and the grindings of things in his life and seeing things in the wrong waters, right? And we go to Shamma'an, right? The seed planted in a place, right, through the direction of the Father, the AY, the action, the answer to a question, right, that we went into last week. We see that in Shamma'an, a seed planted in thorny grounds, and how he had a hardening of the heart, how he really wanted to see Esav hurt. Esav, Joseph, being one that was always planted in the proper place, what his name breaks down to. And as we see, as he ruled and everything like that, we can see that backs it up. The proof is in the pudding with that, right? So we go from him to Levi, or Levi, being nailed to something. So we get the trance of nature, having a disruption of the digestion of things, to having a hardening heart, to getting back to the thing that nails you in the right direction. But we see in Levi that Lamed Alav, how we break that down into character, like right here that we see on the screen, Bilha. But Levi, the L-A, right? Those that know, the righteous direction, the A-L, like Allah Chayam, the righteous direction of the Father, that is one way. When you have it flipped the other way, it's not necessarily fully the unrighteous direction, but a direction that you chose, right? But we all had to choose a direction in order to figure out the right direction to go into. That's what Levi is. And we saw that he was with the sapphire stone, or the sapphire stick, was more so about the Levitical priesthood. How we read about Moses and everybody having that as well. Matter of fact, let's go there real quick first. I'll go there. Y'all don't have to go there. But to bring that back together before we even get to Revelation and before we get to Dan, we're going to bring all this back together. So what is that? Jasher, I believe 77, somewhere around there. Let's see. Jasher or Yashar. Yep. Jasher or Yashar, chapter 78, actually. No, 77, yep. And let's see, I'm going to jump down to verse 43 where it really talks about everything. And it says that sapphire stick, right, that we talked about last week. The stick came down to Noah. Actually, 43. And when Elohim had driven Adam from the Garden of Eden, he took the stick in his hand and went and tilled the ground from which he was taken. So this sapphire mindset, this sapphire stone, this sapphire stick, the meaning behind it. Remember we read in Exodus how, and Ezekiel, how Yahweh has his feet planted on sapphire. The throne he stands upon, sapphire, right? The mindset above our heads, sapphire. So his feet, the walk, is our mindset. We can see that being the in-between barrier in those in-between places. And it went from Adam to Noah to Shem to Abraham to Joseph or Yosef, all the way down, even taken from Esau, Jacob, let's see, Ruel, Reval. Remember last week, actually when we went into that, how we knew that it came from his garden, Reval or Ruel being in the order of Melchizedek, Malachi, Zadok, right? How all this is one order, not belittling anything else, not changing a jot nor a tittle of anything else, but seeing as a whole. This is really familial, a familiar thing, a familiar process, right? A familial process, right? And how we got from there in that sapphire. So we're gonna slow down right here, right? That sapphire of Levi. We go to Exodus 28. We will later on. We'll see that Levi, in order of birth, would not line up with sapphire, right? But we weren't wrong in that. Now sapphire being we're just gonna say Levi. We know Levi is law, right? Levi law. We're just gonna say Levi. Levi having sapphire means that it was taken from somebody in that order. Technically, it would have been Dan, right? Because we go from, actually we'll flip to Exodus 28. We'll flip to Exodus 28. So if y'all don't mind, let's flip to Exodus 28. We'll go back to Revelation 7. We're going to be walking this thing. So be prepared to jot these things down. Be ready to flip through the scroll. Hold on for Jasher. And then we're going to be in the 66 books that was taken out of the whole thing. We're going to be in that majority of the time too. So between Jasher, the 12 patriarchs, and also the 66. And Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom. Oh, Shabbat Shalom, Don. What's going on, brother? And we're going to, let's keep on walking. So in Exodus 28 verse 17. So if you want to flip to Exodus chapter 28 verse 17 while I chit chat a little bit about what I saw here. So I was looking here to recollect and to reassure that we are walking in the proper direction. I was looking at the order and it baffled me. It befounded me. it shook me up a little bit because I was like, why is this so different? I was not aware that in interpretations over the lines that people go from, people either go in birthing order of the stones or they go from, let's see, Leah and Rachel and then Bilhah and Zilpah, right? It goes in that order, right? And I'm like, why does it do that? Why do people not go in birthing order? And I was trying to understand it, and y'all was like, basically, don't even try to understand it. It's birthing order. It's birthing order. It's birthing order. That's the order of the stones, right? Because I was looking it up, and I was like, well, why does this Ephod or Ephod have these stones in this order, but this one has this one in this order? Why doesn't it go in birthing order? That's how you miss some messages in this. You miss the testament of Dan. You miss the removal of judgment. See, if you don't go in the birthing order that Yahweh already has things in, you're going to miss the secret and hidden places. Many people say, oh, well, this Leah was more important. No, Rachel's more important. No, Bilhah was more important. No, Zilpah was more important. Like, no. It's birthing order. So we go from Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, all the way to Dan. Because even in the 12 patriarchs, it threw me off because I was like, that's not the next son in birth. Like, that wasn't the next one, right? So even in that, pay attention to the little things, because I was trying to understand it. I was like, well, why? But some things you're not meant to understand. Some things are not meant to be under a standard of. It just don't make sense. But you see, these things were taken and manipulated for certain things and certain points proven. But, you know, we could keep diving in that. Not every point needs to be proven, etc., etc. But I figured that should have enough time for y'all to get to Exodus 28, verse 17. So we're going to really see what I'm talking about. So, it says, Exodus 28, 17, and thou shalt set in settings of stones 4 rows of stones. The first row shall be a sardius, topaz, carbuncle, the first row. Second row shall be emerald, sapphire, and diamond, right? The same guidelines in Chronicles and Kings for lineage. Con. Yep. And the same also in the judgment of Judges. Keep all that in mind. We're going to read today in Judges. Micah is not the same Micah prophet. This is talking about a Levite, a Levitical priest hired for. We'll get there, right? But we'll see in order. So the first one in verse 17, we got the first one coming up is sardius. That would be Reuben. Second would be topaz. That would be Simeon. Third, carbuncle. That would be Levi. Fourth should be emerald, which is Judah, Yahweh, right? We hit that last week. And then 5, the fifth, Dan, sapphire, right? So why did Dan get sapphire? Right? And why is sapphire more correlated to Levi? Because that's why I put that picture in right there with that imagery. That sapphire was taken away from Dan, right? Okay, so Salah on that. That sapphire was taken away from Dan. It was seen in Levi, because the judgment is something that was removed, right? We'll see what I mean now. Let's go to Revelation 7. We're gonna walk this down a little bit. Revelation 7. We'll go down to start at verse 4. Revelation 7, verse 4. We're gonna flip over there and see what I'm talking about. Why did sapphire get taken? In a sense, right? Why is sapphire associated with Dan, but really Levi, right? Levi, even with that stone of the carbuncle, remember that stone is also just deeper in red, because red and blue make a more purplish color, right? So that carbuncle stone, as y'all flip to Revelation 7, that carbuncle stone representing Levi is more deeper red, more deeper passion, more deeper sacrifice, Salah, right? That's a more deeper sacrifice, as in post or through Messiah, through the proper sacrifice. There's more red in that. There's more scene of a passion than blue. But both working together, peace bringing passion, passion bringing peace. Those mixing together to come out in this color. But it also has that blue in there. It also has that sapphire in there. And also when you're looking into these colors, you'll see that there's a chart to see the amount of all different colors going through those stones, because all stones go through the phase of all colors. It's just certain points that are pushed out in specific specificities for you to see in these places, right? But let's keep going. Let's go over here to Revelation chapter 7, verse 4. That part probably come up more and more. We'll get that reiterated in our mind more and more. But we'll see how Dan is not even included in the sealing, but yet a son of Jacob, right? Of Jacob. Revelation chapter 7, verse 4. It says, and I heard the number of them that were sealed. And there were sealed 144,000 of all the tribes or guidelines of the children of Israel, Yahashua. Of the tribe of Judah were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Reuben, 12,000. Of the tribe of Gad, 12,000. Tribe of Asher, 12,000. Tribe of Naphtali, 12,000. The tribe of Manasseh, or Manassas, 12,000. Simeon, 12,000. Yep, Levi, 12,000. Issachar, 12,000. Zabulon, 12,000. Joseph, 12,000. Benjamin, 12,000. Right? That's the end of verse 8. But there's no Dan. So let's go back through the order. So through the trance of nature, we see that there's a grinding of digestion, a misdigestion, a backup, an indigestion, right? And we go from there to the hardening of the heart because of that indigestion, not able to see things straight. But then that needing a way coming from the righteous direction of a way that you picked. We're at Levi now, a way that you picked to go. But you had to make a choice in order to go in the right direction. In order for that LA to be AL, you had to make a choice in that LA, right? For the righteous direction of your choice from a source that you've seen in life In order for that to be an A-L or Allah or Allah-Hayam, you must make a choice right there. A choice of what? This is where Yahweh made it really easy. A choice of knowing exactly what door not to go through. You know, he made it really plain and simple right there. Everybody needed, though. He's not excluded. Dan did fight with his brothers, but we got to a point where Dalat, Alav, Navan. There is one door that you do not go through. And that is the door of thinking that you have the right of judgment. That is the door. So we went through all that to get to a point where Yah said, hey, there's many doors you got to go through, right? Remember Yahavada? How we broke that down on the two ends. There's a healing of a Alav He. The Alav, the source, Abba, and the Holy Spirit on both ends. In the middle of that, Yashalam Kozo, in the middle of that, you got AV, AD, and then you got a AH, right? Yahavada. Remember we got Yada, we got Ada in there. We read about them on the righteous direction, an intercourse. There's an intercourse right there in Judah. An intercourse of what? An entering course of figuring out what door not to go through, right? Because before Dan is Yahavada. So now we see how all that comes together. So once again, we see Reuben, caught in the trance of nature, caught in the trance of things, not keeping his mind in the mindset of the garden. Then we get to Simeon, a seed planted in thorny ground, but supposed to be through destruction, to be the proper image in the blood, water, and spirit. But a misconception of that leads you to have a hardened heart. That hardened heart needs to be fixed by going through that choice you made and getting nailed again to go back to the righteous direction. And that shows you exactly what door not to go through, because you put your input on it. You put your judgment on the thing, right? That's what happened. Leading to Dan not being sealed. Leading to know that is not necessary. There's one door to Da'abah that you're not supposed to go through, and that is the door of your own judgment. That gets psychological. Believe it or not. Believe it or not, that gets psychological. It got really, 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 really deep right here, because I love psychology, psyche, the study of the soul, and the nature of things, right? So now we're going to see, Shabbat Shalom, Uncle Darius, Shabbat Shalom, Uncle Bruder. We're going to see really the psychological part of this, right? So judgment is something that we don't need to have our hands on. I was led to see that judgment is a lie plus anger. A lie thinking that you have a place, or that what you've seen is needed for a hand of judgment via you, right? That is the lie that was there. And that anger is what fueled that, right? But let's go back to judgment. Why that needs to be removed. Because judgment is largely an internal imaginary construct, right? Judgment is already written. So let's break that and bring that back together so we see the thought process in that. The law is already there. There's a difference between law and judgment. So what we must know being out here is that the judgment is not in our hands. We are in consequence. There are consequences, but there is no judgment in our hands. The judgment is already written there. There's already a effect to the cause. That's already written. There's no need for our hands to be on judgment. What we do is we become aware, and that stops at righteous counsel. Right? There's no need for us to put our hands on things, because if we do, yet again, he who is without sin cast the first stone. Let's slow that down and say that properly. Because as soon as you cast a stone, the Messiah is already ready through the word and say, hey, you don't really have a right of these things. We go back to the beginning where they talk about an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, whichever way. Really what that is seeing what that person went through, and being able to identify this thing and be able to see where they are. You don't really need to do much more than that. It's Shabbat Shalom, sis. Shabbat Shalom. You don't really need to do more than that. All you need to do is see. That's it. That's all. That's the message. Right? Back then, even with the tooth, tooth is also represented as sheen or shine, right? Destruction and gnawing at something. You got to see what somebody went through in order to know. So for that eye, see where they come from. For that tooth, see what they were chewing on. Where in that digestion did it get messed up? But people get excited and want to put their hands on things like, "Ooh, I get to punish." No, that's not truly it. Now, not everything is sweet, right? Not everything is sugar. But there's already things written for that. There's already a sequence to go with that, right? So that's more so where we're at with the judgment. You got to remove judgment. That's why Dan wasn't identified, right? And the sealed tribes at the end. So Yah was like, hey, there's one door I will tell you. Don't go through this. Dalat, Alav, Navan. Even in Dalat, there's a D-A-L-A right there again. There must be a point in that process of that door, of any door. But this is the start of any door. There must come a point where you get to the right door by going through the wrong one, right? But still, that does not need your judgment. But let's go back to judgment. Judgment is the fear. The fear of judgment is largely an internal imaginary construct, right? Off of a spotlight effect. What do you mean a spotlight effect? A spotlight effect, remember we were talking about the light to stone ratio and the light to crystal ratio, right? One specific point, that is a spotlight. You see how all this comes together with that mindset of the garden? One specific point is a spotlight. We could pretty much already finish that statement right there. There's one point along that line that got you tripped up. There's one point that the adversary might throw back at you to stir up, right? Because the adversary doesn't really know your thoughts. Does not know your thoughts. The adversary knows what affects other people. The adversary knows what to throw at people. The adversary knows what you've been through. The adversaries might take something from your past, throw it at you in the present, and make you think that the same thing is already happening again, that already got settled back then. So now it has you tripping again. Now that's a, what you call that? A irritant, or that's a spark to get everything going, right? Shabbat Shalom, Koba, what's going on, bro? All these things come together because it's a spotlight effect. It's one specific thing. They tend to believe that they are the spotlight. They tend to believe that their life is based off of that one decision. But let's do this exercise. I was led to this. Look back upon your life, right? Out of everything that went there, like for real, do this with me. I did this too. It was really righteous. I look back on everything. Look back on everything. Take judgment and take that top hat off of everything. Take judgment off of everything you've been through in life. And what is left? What do you see? You see somebody that has a chance to make a choice. That's it. And what's that one choice supposed to be? Don't put your judgment on it, because you putting your judgment on it, you see how worse that looked before you just took that judgment off? You see how crazy that looked? But you take away that judgment, you just see somebody trying. You know? All praises. You just see somebody trying. So take that and put that, spread it all over the bread. You can't just put it in one spot. No sandwich is good with peanut butter and one strip of the bread. Go ahead and spread it across the whole bread, right? Whether it's leavened or whether it's unleavened, because the sheep must sleep with the wolves at some point, right? The dream of Paul and the food and everything like that, it wasn't that he'll be eating these things, but we would have to sit with people that eat of these things, right? Corinth, we'll go to Corinthians, 1 Corinthians later on. He was telling them these are not our customs, right? But bringing it all together to see how that really makes sense, right? It's just somebody trying. So what's the need of judgment? Why do we keep picking up judgment and putting it on things? That's because it leads us to that one thing, to know that this is the one door that we shouldn't go through. So as we're out here teaching people, not telling people, but fellowshipping with people and putting them on game with things, one thing we have to remember is that the judgment must be taken off. That top hat must be taken off, right? That's judgment on that spotlight of one situation that makes you think that depicts your whole life. Now, there is one thing that sparks. There is a slingshot effect. But just like there's an effect of these stones and crystals coming from the places they come from, there are many. These things happen constantly. There's a constant clashing. There's constant things revealed because there's many people, right? So it has to happen many times. I'm on. But let's get back to that psychology piece. It got really cool. It says the fear of judgment is largely an internal imaginary construct. The spotlight effect in psychology, people tend to believe they are in the spotlight, thinking everyone notices their minor flaws. No, just you. And what has the adversary seen you go through? These things, right? Let's keep going. Such as a stain on a shirt, right? But the crystal says, she brought this up a while ago. I forget what we were talking about, but this sparked up a thing that she was led to hear. and it was like, oh man, we wear the stain. We wear the stain of the sacrifice of the Messiah, right? At the point of our head, the first thing, like in Reuben, the carbuncle of Levi, how it has more passion in there than anything, right? More red, more deeper passion than blue, but there still is that blue in there. But it takes more passion after realizing that door isn't the one you're supposed to go through in order to see the blue, in order to see the sapphire, in order to see that the sapphire should be taken from Dan and given to Levi, actually technically headed by Joseph, Yosef, right? Come on. You see how this kind of bounces all over the place? It's like we say all the time, it gets chunky, it gets meaty, you know? But it's righteous. The stain on his shirt, that's what it reminded me of. We wear the stain. That's not something for you to be like, oh no, that's where you look back and see, that's where he stepped in on my life right there. That's where he came in. That's where it's on the doorpost of the door. That's what's hanging over my head. That's that sapphire mindset. You know, that's what that is. It's not a bad stain. You know, that's not what it is. Let's keep going. Oftentimes also it's a mental projection. It's a thinking that I know what's going to happen next, and you really don't. And all praise to the Most High, sis. All praise to the Most High. It's projecting these things on you. You look at something and you get caught up in the vision of things. That's why you have to get patriarchal, right? True. That's why you had to get patriarchal, because in order to understand the things, in order to see the masculine is not without the feminine is not without the masculine, you've got to break these things down, right? You've got to. And I pretty much, it goes back into more, but to go with this, let's see. Actually, we'll read through it all. There's a phenomenon called adolescent egocentrism of adolescence. So the ego, mechanical workings of the adolescent thing that has you stuck in the midset of your youth. Again, projecting. That has something to do with it too. The reality of worry, making worry a reality. You shouldn't. While the content of the judgment is imaginary, the anxiety of emotional impact on the person experiencing it is very real. Not belittling anything. It's real because it really happened before, right? Past, present, future. Be aware of these things. Take your judgment off of these things. Just be aware and be in righteous counseling, right? All that, and then, praise Yah. Now, let's see where we're going to go next. Let's see. We got Revelation. Let's go to, let's see. Judges 18. Let's go to Judges 18. Let's go over there. Let's start over there a little bit. Judges 18. And hold the spot there. As we talk more about Dan. So bringing everything together while we go to Judges 18, me as well. Joshua, Judges, Ruth. There we go. Judges 18. I put 19, but it's Judges 18. It goes into 19. We'll go into that in a second. But to bring everything together while y'all are going there, you remove judgment, like we just said. We now see who we are. Someone trying, right? Judgment hasn't happened yet. Divine timing has, right? The only thing that's happened is divine timing. Judgment is, we know what it is, but we keep trying to bring it back to our divine timing. All that is, what we're supposed to see in that time is our righteous counsel moment. Not really judgment, just a consequence of what we have decided to do. That's it. Adversary could be mad at you about an old action you've made it through, and strikes you again with it, causing a stir, causing to try to get you to go back because he don't like where you made it to, or they don't like where you made it to. They'll take it and throw it back in. Right, the correction is love. The correction is love. That's it. The correction is love. Dan was born in the setting of a courtroom. This is where it got really meaty too right here. Dan was born in the setting of a courtroom. Why do we say that? And this is what leads us, all right, ta-da, this is what's going to lead us to Judges 18. When Dan was born, the judgment thing came up because of Rachel, right? Let's look into that family dynamic. So we have Jacob and Leah. They have Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah. Then we get to Dan. Dan came from a place of Rachel seeing at that point she still hasn't bore any children. Rachel looked at that situation and put herself in a courtroom and looked at it and said, I must be getting judged, or I have been judged, or there is a judging. In the courtroom of Yah, there is a plaintiff and a defendant. Bilhah and Rachel, right? Dan came in the mix of this because Rachel really wanted something to happen, both being mothers, right? Dan came from Rachel putting judgment on the situation. It came from a want of something that wasn't really hers to have, but taken in consideration. Now look at this. We have Jacob has Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah. Rachel says, oh no, I haven't had any children. Take my maidservant, Bilhah, have a child. They did, right? That place of condemn yourselves before Yah has a say. Exactly, right? See? Yah has a say. Don't do this. Don't bring that judgment because Rachel want nothing going on wrong. Rachel took the baby and said, I have been judged. Rachel, no. The mother is still Bilhah, right? She's still the mother. She's still capable of being the mother. Why are you taking this and putting this on yourself? Why are you saying, oh no, woe is me? Why don't you just wait? Because she's looking at things in the past and bringing it right now. Adversary saying, hey, look at this. Brings it back, right? Brings it back, Khan, right? And says, hey, what about this? And Rachel says, oh no. Oh, there's a spotlight. There's a spotlight effect on the crystal of Rachel. Look at the name of Rachel. Rachel, right? You have Aresh, the head, working through a destruction or a seed planted in thorny grounds or a gnawing or a misdigestion of a thing to a healing of a righteous direction, right? But that's because she realized she went through the wrong door. But she said, I have been judged. Now Dan comes out into this thing and in these waters, Bilhah may be feeling belittled. Bilhah may be feeling less of herself in a way, having to watch herself have a child and everything like that. She also being a believer. It didn't say she was specifically how deep that went, but being of this family, still being capable of raising a son, still raising her son. Rachel still putting her hands on something that really didn't have anything to do with her. But with everything coming together, things were thrown into a situation in ordained time, supposed to though, because Yahweh uses certain people to be able to handle certain things for these things to be seen now. So without that happening, we wouldn't see what door not to go through. So again, not saying Dan is irrelevant, not saying Dan is the most terrible of persons, right? The tribe or the guideline of this, because the guideline shows what you're not supposed to do, but the story is written for them to do, at the same time, right? All at the same time. But yes, Dan was born in the setting of a courtroom. Salah. Dan took it and saw and actually made a point to do of not being in the righteous way, of taking something and making it their own. That's the door you're not supposed to go to. That's taking a judgment through the holy ravak that you do have and making it into something that's not supposed to be, right? So let's go to Judges chapter 18 and start reading through there as we walk. And a little sidebar, this right here, even in like judgment, like this is real life, right? Like I say all the time before we get to reading, sidebar time. Even with this, today, praise Yah, is like the first day where, well, not the first day, but this is the time where even when it comes to testimony of this thing, right? Even when it comes to that, both sides must be shown as an example to remind the consequences of choices with standard. Exactly. So it has to happen. Aman Ashe, right? This is the first time even I realized judgment on a relaying of experience, right? That's what a testimony is, right? Yeah, don't give up people give up just off judgment, exactly. Exactly. And this is the first time where even with this, it's like, all right, y'all, I was talking to bro yesterday when I was preparing for this, the final steps of everything. I was like, yo, I'll sit here and I'll write the order of everything. I'll jot these notes in order, everything. And I guarantee tomorrow it's not going to go like that at all. That's why I always say, okay, let's see where we start. Because everything comes across the mind. But in all these different ways, all these different spotlights, right? For lack of better words in this moment. But really not even putting judgment on that. Really letting really becoming less of yourself and let more of spirit lead. But that takes a lot of faith. That takes a jump. That takes a leap, right? A big leap. But even in that, these things are shown. Don't even put judgment. Don't even put your view on the thing to a certain extent, right? To a certain extent. These things go to certain extents. But yeah, let's go to Judges chapter 18. Let's start reading there. We're going to read about Dan. And we'll see why he was more so removed and how he removed himself in more detail of what we already explained or already dove into, right? Chapter 18, it says, in those days, there was no king in Israel. So what does that mean? We're going to walk through this. In those days, there was no king in Israel. There was no standard. There was no looking past judgment, like Sister S.J. was talking about. There was no looking past that. There was no guide. Right? But there's not supposed to be solely one king outside of the Messiah. But that's for another day, apparently. Let's keep reading. In those days, there was no king in Israel. No king in the head of the places of peace. The coming together of the scrolls, the lessons, the life, the walk, the way. There was none of that here in this place. And in those days, the tribe of the Danites sought them an inheritance to dwell in. Right? Because what inheritance did Dan really get to dwell in? All he kept hearing was judgment. That's all he kept hearing. That's all he kept seeing was judgment. So what inheritance did he really have? Oh, it was on him to figure out what door. Okay, let's keep reading. For unto that day, all their inheritance had not fallen unto them among the tribes of Yahashua. This is also land. This is also setting foot. This is also a collection of memories, of walks, of ways, and things of that nature. Had not fallen unto them among the tribes of Israel. Their understanding hasn't fallen to them yet. They're seeing the judgment thing. That's one thing about Dan too. Not really. Yeah, exactly. See, but the the inheritance to dwell in had not fallen on them, because what are they supposed to look for? What can they see? They can't see outside of judgment. So they're just reaching for things, right? Life's past, authority, exactly. They're reaching, trying to grab everything. They don't even know what they're looking for because they're looking at judgment. Judgment is imaginary. There's actions, there's reactions, there's consequences, there's divine timing, there's law. What's outside of that? Oh, that's because man put their hands on some things and got excited about, oh, I pluck at the eye because you pluck at my eye. Or I pull your tooth because you pull my tooth. Or I hit you back because you slapped me. No, you turn the other cheek and try to figure out what happened. You show love. But Dan didn't know anything about that. Dan, he saw and he was birthed through, the man was not without the woman, woman not without the man, the work of Jacob, and then through Bilhah, right, came this, right? All praises. Let's look at Bilhah real quick. I told you, we're just going to let spirit flow. And if anybody has anything, feel free to jump up. This is not secluded to only me, right? But we'll look at Bilhah, right? And we're going to stop at chapter 18, verse 1. Remember, we're there. Bilhah. What happened there? So we got Jacob, the work of the hands, right? Because everything we're talking about, the hands work, right? The hands work from what the eyes see and from where the feet walk, right? Knowing that it takes three to balance. Remember, there's a Father, Son, Holy Spirit. There's an element, a weight, and a pressure, right? Tada, sis Shantae for putting me on game with that. Give flowers when they're due. All praises, this thing works around. But, so we got Jacob, the hands, right? And you see that pot in the background of that post? This is why I really love, the imagery, right? Really love art since I was a little child. Excuse me. But that pot, right? We're talking about the works in the hands. As he is the potter, we are the clay. Constantly being molded. So is there really just solely one structure of a pot that's made? No, because these spouts are different depending on what needs to be poured. So look at the top of that container right there. I saw this after I picked it because I didn't see that till today. I didn't have no imagery. That's why I didn't post anything. I was sitting here like, uh-oh, you know, but just putting full faith and really taking that leap. As I was saying, no judgment, no anxiety, no mind, no sound. But let's get back here. So you see the top of that container, that jar doesn't really have a proper spout to pour. So if you would tip that over right now, it would just come gushing out, right? It wouldn't really be able to be poured into a specific container unless it looked just like it, right? So right here we see, right, the working of the hands of Jacob. There's already a pot made. There's already judgment there, right? Jacob goes to Bilhah. So we got B, the righteous direction, the Ba'ite, right, equals, remember that AY from last week? That is a answer. That is a Alav Yao. That is the Father's direction. That is a first action. That creates an image, the Ayan, right, through the direction of the Father, right? And then we have AH. That is a healing. That is a question. That is a search. That is the work of the Ravak HaKodash, right? So we have that at the end. In between that, remember how we break that down? In between that, we have La'ah, right? Remember La'atuba or La'tuba, right? Even Leah breaks down that name. Rabbit hole there. So we see LA. Flip that around. It's the righteous direction of the Father. But flip it back to how we have it right here. There must be a direction chose, right? In order to know what door not to go through, right? And that comes from the HA, the Holy Spirit direction of the Father. And then you flip that around and you become healed after that. So that's all in Bilhah, right? So Jacob, the work of the hands, goes into this. A way of a person that is in the direction placed on her, being a maidservant, but yet playing a role in patriarchal ways, the necessary. There is no littleness to any of these people. Like, Bilhah, you're still a mother. Rachel, you're still loving. You're willing to adopt this child. This has been happening in all generations, right? There's no need for your judgment there. You know, you're placing the situation, you're making the best of it. You're being honest. This is honestly what you went through. But if we didn't see this honesty, it would leave us in a lot of ways. But going through that righteous direction, from the working of the hands, by choosing your own direction, all that Jacob and Bilhah coming together, comes Dan, comes judgment. Looking for something that he doesn't really know what it is, because all he keeps seeing is judgment, right? All he keeps knowing or looking around is judgment. Right? So he looks for his own inheritance. His own inheritance is what? His own judgment. Right? You see how all that comes together? This is like I'm learning more with y'all. Like, even that breakdown right there, how I was saying before, that's something that it just took something from me staring. And honestly, what they call dyslexia, I guess. I don't know, maybe. But it's like looking at these things and really studying and really seeing that, like Sis says, not everything has to come, take this with a grain of salt, from a book, right? These things come from meditations with Yah. These things come from searching in the hidden places. To go to Revelation 7 and look for Dan and be like, why is Dan not there? All right, well, that has to have some questions for some answers, right? What is judgment? Is judgment even a real thing? Like, it's law, right? Law has consequences, right? Come on now. They have consequences, but what's judgment even come from? Like, for Yah to know how everything was supposed to go, he knows his judgment is there. But sometimes, just like parents might drop a little breadcrumb and say, yeah, you could go outside, but dare you to at the same time, right? Or like, yeah, I remember, like, all right, traumatic flashback. Like, the first time I realized I shouldn't just go in the house. I should probably find a spigot outside to get some water in, you know, because parents was like, hey, you come back inside one more time, you're staying in. Sure, that's if you see me. But that door makes noises, right? That door makes noises. As soon as you go in there, boom, you're locked in. You're locked into this position, right? But let's go back to Judges chapter 18. We'll go to verse 2 now. Now that we got all that. Remembering all that. Bring it all back to Judges 18:2. It says, and the children of Dan sent of their family 5 men. So we go to 5 in Hebrew character. That's Alav, Ba'it, Gaimal, Dalet, Che. Right? Che being Holy Spirit. Right? From their coast, from their borders, from their understanding, from their limitations. There was what they thought was a holy thing that they were about to do, a Holy Spirit thing, a thing led by the Holy Spirit, right? That's what we can keep in mind when we see 5. From their coasts or from their borders, men of valor, right? Potential. From Zerah or Zorah, right? Zerah being seed, right? Zarah, Zerah, being seed. Remember, we talked about Zerah Ashtar and Samson, right? Samson came from the tribe of Dan, from the guidelines of Dan, later down. But we see even in this place, and from Zerah and from Ashtar, right? So this comes back again. Now I'm really seeing why Yah has us go through these things again. Another example, like it's Yah and really not knowing, for real, really second guessing, looking at it and be like, are you sure? From all this to see, remove the judgment, Stephen. Just remove it. Don't even worry about it. But be mindful, but don't even worry about it. You know what I'm saying? So let's look back at seed, and then we got Ashtar in verse 2. We got Alav equals SHTAL parentheses A, right? How we break that down versus what we know. From the Father, you're led to a place of realization, led to a place of gnawing, led to a place of destruction, led to a place of eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth, to seeing really, I'm just supposed to see where you're coming from because my hands are not supposed to be on it, right? That is the TA, that is the Tav, At, Allah, the mark of the Father, going towards the mark of the Father through the direction, right? So we have the seed going to a place, right, of the mark going through destruction, through the righteous direction of the Father. We put that in verse 2. So to put that in, we'll read that again. So the children of Dan, the children of Dalat Alav Navan, the children of the one door you're not supposed to go through, sent of their family spirit, right, from their borders, of their mindset, who they consider to be men of valor, from the seed planted by Jacob, to a place where you realize through destruction the mark of the Father is here, to spy out the land, to search it. And they said it to them, go search the land. You see how we put all that back in, and we can see what that really means more deeply, right? Let's keep going. Search out the mindset. Search out this place that was put here. Semicolon, who when they came to Mount Ephraim, to the house of Micah, or Machia, they lodged there. Verse 3, when they were by the house of Micah, they knew the voice of the young man, the Levite, right? So they were at this place, at the house of Micah, and they saw and knew the voice of the young man, the Levite. And they turned in thither, and said unto him, who brought thee hither? And what makest thou in this place? And what hast thou here? Verse 4, and he said unto them, thus and thus dealeth Micah with me, and hired me, and I am his priest. Right? Exactly. So we see right here, this Micah, not the same Micah from later on, but this Micah hired a priest, right? Verse 5, and they said unto him, ask counsel, we pray thee, of Elohim, that we may know whether our way which we go shall be prosperous. Right? Verse 6, and the priest said unto them, go in peace. Before Yahweh is your way wherein you go. Right? They said, go in peace. This is verse 6. Oh, I just heard some terrible breaks. This is verse 6. And the priest said unto them, go in peace. Right? Go in the way of the direction that you choose, basically. Go in the way that you think is right, because this is the way you must go in order to see the peace of Yahweh. What this essay was just talking about. You got to break it open to see. Right? So verse 5. They said, he said, go. He went wrong though. He said, go on this path, that because Yahweh is in the way that you go. Yahweh is in the sense that you are in. Yahweh already wrote this way. He already gave you law, right? Let's keep going. Verse 7, then 5 men departed and came to Laish, right? And saw the people that were therein, how they dwelt careless after the manner of the Zidonians, quiet and secure, right? Because in that choice of direction, in the image of thing through destruction, they realized they had nothing to worry about, right? Oh, for sure, for surely. Got you, cuzzo, got you, for surely. And there's verse 7. Yeah, let's go ahead. Matter of fact, let's go ahead and yeah, we'll pray out. We'll pray out for surely. Yeah. Verse 7. The 5 men departed. So it came to Laish and saw the people that were therein, how they dwelt careless after the manner of the Zidonians, quiet and secure, and there was no magistrate in the land, as in there was no ruler in the land. There was no need for one specific one. Tada, fam. You already know. We're gonna touch and agree. For sure. 1 second, this puzzle came up. And know that it's already released. And that what needs to be revealed to know, maybe be revealed to know in intimacy, you know? I'm on. Let's see. Verse 8, and they came unto their brethren to Zerah and Ashtal, and their brethren said unto them, what say ye? Verse 9. Oh no, let's go back to verse 6. All right, and the priest said unto them, go in peace. Go with knowing that you're supposed to go on this way. Right? And Shabbat Shalom, Brother Cole. Before Yahweh, your way wherein ye go. Verse 7, then the 5 men departed and came to Laish and saw the people that were therein, how they dwelt careless after the manner of the Zidonians, quiet and secure. And there was no magistrate in the land that might put them to shame in anything. And they were far from the Zidonians and had no business with any man. Right? And they came unto their brethren to Zerah and Ashtal, and their brethren said unto them, what say ye? Verse 9, and they said, arise, that we may go up against them, for we have seen the land, and behold, it is very righteous. And are ye still? Be not slothful to go and enter to possess the land. Verse 10, when ye go, ye shall come into a people secure. Salah. Into a large land, for Elohim hath given it into your hands for a choice to make. Right? Oh, Shabbat Shalom, Sister Sherry. Yeah, it goes like that sometimes, unfortunately. It could possibly be me too, honestly. But yeah, we're going to keep on going. But they are recorded, praise y'all. But sometimes going out and coming back in too helps out a lot. But yeah, I see you. Verse 10, yes. When ye go, ye shall come into a place secure, to a large land. For Elohim hath given it into your hands, a place where there is no want of anything that is in the earth. So there will come a place, Salah, that you will come to, unto a land where people are secure in mindset, where you will put your judgment there, right? But Elohim had put that there for you to see what you're going to do with that, right? A place where there is no want of anything that is in earth. So that's something that you're seeing or searching for behind the scenes. So when you get to that place of Abraham's bosom, searching for Yah in the heavens and the earth, right? But nothing specifically, nothing idolistic, right? Verse 11, and there went from thence out of the family of the Danites, out of Zerah, out of Ashtal, 600 men appointed with weapons of war. And we're going to settle in right there. 600. You know we had to go into that. And something I was working with, right? Y'all keep on going with this too. More hands to the plow in a sense. But I was looking at the numbers. Because, you could get 400 plus 200 gives you 600. 500 plus 100 gives you 600. Right? You see what I'm saying? So I took that and dove in, right? And it got real righteous. So go ahead and dive in with that. And see what you get. So I took the 300, right? Let's go 400 first. So 400 is represented by the top. We're gonna go Hebrew characters. 400 is represented by the top, right? 200 is represented by the Rosh or Resh or the head of a kingdom, right? So in verse 11, as we're studying and breaking this thing down, right? Exactly. And when you need that direct authorization, you got to figure out how many ways can you make 600. That's how they taught us to do these things, right? How many apples go into this basket, things of that nature. So they were appointed with weapons of war. So these weapons of war, there were many mindsets, right? Many of the same mindset to a point, right? Or you could go 300, 200, and 100, right? We could go shine, or the teeth, or the digestion, or the destruction, going through destruction, by a mindset, by going through a specific door, right? So that's 5. By an preparation, by a cut. Either that's a cut off or a cut in 2. That could get you through to a weapon of war. That could get you to a mindset of being willing to stand against something, or take your judgment upon something, right? Or you could go 2 cuts, a cut on and a cut off. That's 200 of Kof, right? Then we could go by a mark or by a tav. That's 400. 4 plus 2 is 6. So you see how we could just break these things down and really break that number down, so you can really see more into it of what makes up that statement. You see? So it gets real deep. It gets real deep. That's something I was blessed to see. This rising, actually, looking back over things. It's man, Yah is just so righteous. You know, when we think we know something, like we always know, it's just the beginning of a thing. It's not even that you get it. We have the numbers. Come on now. Dalat, Ayan, Nan, the eye on the other side of the door. Yeah, exactly. Right? And then you flip that through maturity, you see the eye on the other side of the door. Right? Ayan, that is 60, 70? Yeah, 70. Right? We could put that in there too and get that cut up and things like that. Right? When you think you know, you have no idea. Yeah, in due time, in divine timing, yet again. Not putting your judgment on the thing, not thinking, hey, I got this. It makes that's the nerve of this thing right here, because even coming before people, and like, not this, because, you know, we chilling, we kicking at the campfire, but it's really like, yo, you could really be loud and wrong. But that's your judgment on it, because even then, like, I put him here, one example, Judges 19, and I'm like, it's Judges 18, Stephen. But look at this, Judges 18 and 19, it talks about a king not being present. 18, it talks about, in Judges, it talks about a more spiritual mindset. 19, it talks about the physicality that comes from that spiritual mindset. You see, so it's not really that you're wrong, it's that you didn't see everything you're supposed to see in it. Like, that's it. Like, I'll go back over things, like with the stone. I was like, well, sapphire, daggone. We just said that was Levi. All right, well, let's see why we said that was Levi. I didn't not gonna put my judgment on it. I'm gonna look back into it and see why. Okay, Levi is supposed to have sapphire, but it was taken from Dan, technically lined up with sapphire on the stone of the ephod. It was taken from Dan and put over here with Levi, and Levi holds it and share it with Joseph or Yasab, right? Colors and numbers. Come on now, it all goes together. Then we get the vehicles, you know. But that's that's for another day when y'all has that timing. All this comes together. All this matters, right? And shalom, sis. Shalom. Great to see you, sis. All this comes together, right? So that's why we got to know. You don't have to. No, I just recommend it for you to see everything that we can see so far, and maybe, you know, Ravak works in you, and you can bring it back to the campfire and be like, hey, let's throw this in here and see what happens, see what gets refined through here. You know, see if this gold stands in the fire. You know, trying the spirit of the spirit. It's being loud and wrong is just a thing of the mind. What you're just doing is speaking in authority. There's only one that really knew what it's supposed to do, right? But then seeing also, like we were saying about before with Levi and the sapphire and everything, seeing how it wasn't wrong, seeing that there was that blue purplish color is in sapphire, but also is in carbuncle, but it's just more red that's shown in that, in Levi. So it's not that you're wrong, because all these crystals that are encased in stone, for that light to stone ratio breaking apart and that light to crystal ratio reflection, for that to happen, it must go through all different colors. It must contain all. Even that emerald that comes from the black stone, it's because the black stone absorbs all, and from absorbing all colors you get love. Remember S.J., she was talking about that earlier? Like, that all comes together, right? All praises. It's very important to know, and it's cool to see the chart that involves all the colors and what's really come forth from that, out of everything. But yeah, we got all that from 600. To be a crystal still needs a form of purification. Exactly. And that takes light. Come on now. All praises. Right? Both of them at the same time. It all goes together. Again, it's consequences. It's not a punishment. It's not a punishment. And many people will be like, hey, but there is punishment. Yeah, duh. But this is not what we're saying. We're saying remove ours. People are saying that there is a punishment because they're putting theirs on there. They're picturing and imaging something. There might be an idolization of a thing, right? To fulfill the fleshly want of a thing. You see how when you know law, you hold the law. Levi holds the law. The punishment ain't something like that comes with it like that, you know? All praises. Hey, cousin, did you mean to try to come up too? Let me know. But yeah, all that meaning something very, very, very great. But why do we keep picking up judgment? It's an anxiety of awareness, pretty much. Yeah, we flown to this thing. We'll get back to judges in a second, promise you. But picking up judgment is an anxiety of awareness. It's what you see and you're like, oh no, okay, got you. And it's like looking at it, it's like, man, I don't even get it. Well, that's because you're looking. Don't put your hands on it. Anxiety is trying to put your hands on something that's out of your control. That's anxiety. That's how you get it. You literally pick it up and put it on yourself. Put it on your shoulder and you carry it like a knapsack, no matter how heavy it is, right? Not realizing the anxiety of awareness is just the adversaries throwing back in our face that they're mad because we did better, right? Because we could do better. And that's what the adversaries do. But yeah, that's 600 in the ion as well. OctTJ, yeah, that's 70 as well. 70 can be broken down. 10 times 7. 10 7 times. 7 Zion. 10 Yod. It goes all over. That's all things you know. That's all things you know. But let's go back in 18. Let's go. Where are we at? 11. Now that we did all that. Verse 12. And they went up and pitched in Kiriyah Aram in Judah in Yahavada. Wherefore they called that place Mahatnahadan. Right? Yeah, Mahatnavahadan. Yeah. Those really could be broken down even more. It could be broken down even more. Yes, math is math, and I don't like math. I don't like it. At the peak of sun, the 3 stones are missing from the ephod in Ezekiel, different from Exodus. Yep. That part too. For a reason. That's a rabbit hole. That's a rabbit hole. Just like in Revelation, there's something missing. Just like before we were talking about how you look up the order of the stones. Like say if you use that Google the machine, then I've seen something that relates to that. But anyway, we looked it up and it comes up with the order of the stones. You will look up a specific son of Jacob or Jacob. It will be misplaced because they don't go in the birth order. So if you don't go in the birth order of a thing, exactly. See, already there. Same library, same sound. Same library, same sound. But that's why we got to know. That's why you got to keep your mindset in the mind of the garden. Also, Dan is also seen as a serpent as well. Great alley-oop. Seen as a serpent as well. Serpent is wisdom, represents wisdom. That's righteous wisdom or wicked wisdom. But still a serpent in the garden. Still working your way around. Still born in the thing or aware of a thing or aware of a presence, aware of a surrounding, right? As well. And it talks about biting the heel of the horse, I believe, right? Just saying. I believe it, the heel of the horse, how it stomps and how a horse in relation to that metaphoric mindset that we were in way back before, right? But let's get back to Judges. And there was something else. Oh, go from Judges, then we're going to go to the Testament of Dan, and then Corinthians. And then we're going to be about done for today. But yes, let's go back to Judges, chapter 18 and verse 13. And they passed thence unto Mount Ephraim, right? And came unto the house of Micah. Then answered the 5 men that went to spy out the country of a place, right, of Laish, and said unto their brethren, do ye know that there is in these houses an ephod, a teraphim, and a graven image, and a molten image? Now therefore consider what ye have to do. Now you put in your mindset of what you have to do, right? You've seen the ephod, a phod. You also seen the teraphim, which is also like a molten or image made up to worship, and a graven image and a molten image. So now let's think about that priest. What things did he have? What was he doing? So that helps us know that in that time, it's talking about a time where even the priests were in wrong places. They were misplaced priests, much like how these rappers are now, and many R&B artists and stuff like that, and many types of artists. They're really priests, but just misplaced. Also, we think about how the house of Jacob, Laban, didn't they have idols and things in there as well? So what would Dan possibly be attracted to? All these things come together, one not without the other, not without each other. We got to have these things together. Verse 15, and they turned thitherward and came into the house of the young man, the Levite, even unto the house of Micah, and saluted him. And the 600 men appointed with their weapons of war, which were of the children of Dan, stood by the entering of the gate. Okay? A lot of metaphors. And the 5 men that went to spy out the land went up and came up in thither, and took the graven image, and the ephod, and the teraphim, and the molten image. And the priest stood in the entering of the gate with the 600 men that were appointed with weapons of war. And these went into Micah's house, and fetched the carved image, right? The ephod, and the teraphim, and the molten image. So they saw that they could take advantage of this person based off of judgment. Dan knowing what door not to go through, Dan knowing the door to go through at the same time, right? Already saw this priest and said, chicken. You know what I mean? Because Dan already had a thing of judgment, right? You see how it all comes together, right? Verse 18, and these went into Micah's house and fetched the carved image, the ephod, and the teraphim, and the molten image. They were going through a lot. Yeah, don't sleep on Dan. Don't sleep on Dan. Because Dan gonna be that one thing you shouldn't have slept on and end up in the door you shouldn't have never been in. Right? Yahweh gave one door that you shouldn't go through. That's judgment. Yeah, exactly. Psych them. That's all. They see? So that means they were taking over and capturing and enamoring and imaging. All this comes together. The end of verse 18, then it says, then said the priest unto them, what do ye? Or what are you doing? Verse 19, they said unto him, hold thy peace, lay thy hand upon thy mouth, and go with us, and be to us a father and a priest, a source and a law. Right? Come on now. It is better for thee to be a priest unto the house of one man, or that thou may be a priest unto a tribe and a family in Israel. Right? Go from Dan of the family to judge the family. Or you can put a question mark in different places. Like Dan of the family, judge the family. Like what right do you have to, because we already got law. So let's take that sapphire from you. Hey, Joseph, Levi, y'all work together with this sapphire. Dan over here tripping. You see? Right? What do they look for? They look for, and they told this man, remember Dan being a serpent? Told this man, like, hey, would you rather be a priest over just a house? Or, this is a whole group. Like, these many people. You see 600, just the people you just see. These are just warriors of weapons of war. There's more. Right? If you really be who you say you are, jump off right now. Turn these breads to stone. All this comes together because we could see the consistencies. Now that's taking it with a grain of salt. Don't run too far off with it, right? Because we can, but that now we see the correlations when you really know the law and really look in the hidden places. Again, if you would have went with the order that is seen through research sometimes, you would have missed the whole sapphire thing. That's why even when you see things and even knowing and seeing how many views and likes and comments on it, you're like, but that's not right? That's not right, Pops. Like, that's not, no, Tet 9 wisdom, that's how you say head in Creole. Oh, okay. See, all the way across the board. Because everything could be translated back to Hebrew, but can everything be translated to every other language? Salah, that's in there right there too. All praises. See, we all come together at this campfire, and like it be smelling righteous. It be smelling righteous. Verse 19. And they said unto him, hold thy peace, lay thy hand upon thy mouth, and go with us to be a father. Basically like, hush. And they put his hand over his mouth. They're basically not kidnapping him, but they're just like, shh, you know. They met him there in the middle of the night. Oh, sidebar. The Messiah met who in the middle of the night? They told him that you had to be reborn again. You know? These things come up, you know? It all comes together. It's all one scroll. It's all one scroll. Until somebody took their judgment and separated it, and we see what came from that. You know? But let's keep reading. Let's keep reading. It's better for thee to be a priest unto the house of one man, or that thou may be a priest unto a tribe and a family in Israel. Verse 20, and the priest's heart was glad that he took the ephod and the teraphim and the graven image and went into the midst of the people. So he said, oh yeah, you're right. Bet that. That is more going with the highest bidder. Remember that Balaam doctrine? Huh? Exactly. All praises, all praises. It does. That is a very big requirement. Verse 21, so they turned and departed and put the little ones and the cattle and the carriage before them. So remember that word and? That just came out. I will give him a triple portion of what he pours out for you. Come on now. So they turned and departed and put the little ones toward the cattle, toward the carriage. So all the things little. You see? The things that could be easily manipulated. That Levitical priest must have been little in the walk. For this is the way. You know what I'm saying? All together. And let me know if you meant to come up too, sis. Just let me know. I see you. Verse 22. And when they were a good way from the house of Micah, the men that were in the houses near to Micah's house were gathered together and overtook the children of Dan. Verse 23. And they cried unto the children of Dan, and they turned their faces and said unto Micah, what aileth thee, that thou comest with such a company? Verse 24, and he said, ye have taken away my gods, which I made, and the priests, and ye are gone away. And what have I more? And what is this that ye say unto me? And what aileth thee? It seems like he's looking at something and getting caught in the anxiety of awareness. People had a really, really bad problem with judgment. Really bad meaning alone. A really alone problem with judgment. Getting alone with these things. Okay, gotcha. All praises. Oh yeah, enjoying that nature. All praises. So Micah came back and said, hey, where's my idol that had the idols, that idol worship, that called himself a priest, that heaps up things that I can rock with? Where is this guy? You know? That's what happened. Verse 25, the children of Dan said unto him, let not thy voice be heard among us, lest angry fellows run upon thee, and thou lose thy life with the lives of thy household. And the children of Dan went their way, and when Micah saw that they were too strong for him, he turned and went back into his house. And they took the things which Micah had made, and the priests which he had, and came into Laish unto a people that were quiet and secure, and they smote them with the edge of the sword, and burnt the city with fire. So they took their priests, took them to war, and took over a peaceful people, a place of peace, a place of righteous direction. Their law went to La'at Tabah, to the opposite of the righteous direction. Also, knowing Micah, Khan, see, you already know where I'm going. Holding the standard that's in the order. So in each ward, there was always a priest with them, right? There was always a priest that you had to take to go to war. Usually it was, no. First Kings, Second Kings. Oh man, not Samson, not Saul. Samuel. There we go. Samuel. Oh, to that about. Ain't going down like that. Samuel. They had to take one to go with them to war. So they took this priest because they knew they were about to go to war. So they took a priest that was already misguided, already succumbed by this Balaam doctrine, right? Already succumbed to all of these things. Took him and went to war with the thing over a peaceful people. So you took something over people that really didn't even need it with. Misplaced and everything, because misconstrued everything. You see why the Testament of Dan is the removal of judgment. It's necessary because you don't even know what you're doing. You look foolish. Reading it, you see how foolish they look. Like, all right, these are some peaceful people. Like, you came in with all this power, all this firepower, just for some peaceful people. With the priests, with all this stuff and all this, so you could keep all this together. You know what I mean? This is what they went in there with. Verse 28, and there was no deliverer, because it was far from Zidon, and they had no business with any man. And it was in the valley that belieth by Beth Rahab, or by Rahab, and they built a city and dwelt therein. And they called the name of the city of Dan after the name of Dan their father, who was born unto Israel. Howbeit the name of the city was Laish at first, right? And the children of Dan set up the graven image, and Jonathan, the son of Gershom, and the son of Manasseh, he and the sons were priests to the tribe of Dan until the day of the captivity of the land. So boom, now he got all his brothers in there with him too. Verse 31, and they set them up Micah's graven image, which he made all the time that the house of Elohim was in Shiloh, or Shilah, right? The same breakdown, the same all putting together. Break those down too. That's a rabbit hole. And then you go to chapter 19, and it says again, and it came to pass in those days when there was no king in Israel, and there was a certain Levite. Again, the same setup. 1:18 talking about the spiritual thing of a thing. 19 talk about the literal physical human outpouring of a thing based off of interactions, right? But that's for another day. That's for another day, or a rabbit hole if you want to go into that too. So we see right there the psychological things that happen. That's some more precepts. Now we're gonna wrap it up with the Testament of Dan, and basically everything we talked about today wraps up into this. Indirect stories of the 3 Levite priests who bent to the way of Baal. Exactly. To die. That's got to be put in there too. See, spirit. Let spirit go ahead. Yeah. Never be afraid to speak, especially knowledgeable. But yes, Khan. The 3. Also, that 3 coming up again. Guy Maul. Humility. Do certain things in the flesh. With things happening, things of that nature. Also, go through the Aleph Ba'it as I'm flipping to the Testament of Dan. If you have that in the 12 Patriarchs, the Testament of Dan, you got to skip a few because they put in a different order, even in the Apocryphal, or the Apocryphal taken away. Yep. And also, we're going to hit 1 Corinthians 2 as well. But yes, before that, talking about how the Hebrew characters, you could go Alav, Ba'it, Gamal, Dalet, He, Vav, Zion, right? But let's go Alav, Ba'it, Gamal, Dalet, right? Where we're at today, the door. We got Alav, the father, Ba'it, of the righteous house, Gamal, humility, Dalat. Gets to there. But remember, Dalat is a place where there's D-A-L-A, right? There's a Al, and then there's a La. There's a back, and then there's a forth. Depending on where you want to take it up and put it down at. That all comes from the Father, the source, out of the righteous family, through humility. Through humility, you see whether, through your choice, you know what the right choice is. Through your choice, you see that you should remove judgment, not to be a pushover. Be aware. That's all it is. We're aware of divine timing. That's all this is. Being aware of divine timing, because the things are already written to be in consequence of things. Judgment coming from a lie plus anger equals judgment. That's where it comes from. A lie of thinking that you should be doing something. A lie of hearing the adversary in your ear and out the other. The lie of thinking that Yahweh hasn't already dealt with these things in due time in advance. The future part of things. That it will be released in time already ahead of you. Forgetting that. Really thinking that you got to put your hands on something that Yah already did. That this is the lie. Plus the anger, right? Yes, be aware and steadfast. Exactly. And that anger is just the fuel. That's the flesh, aka. The flesh gets angry. The soul don't. The flesh do. Salah right there. Oh, that's deep. That goes deep. I ain't gonna go too deep into that, but that goes deep. Grain of salt. But yes, seeing all that. Also seeing how Dan, represented by Sapphire in Exodus 28, right? But not really being Sapphire. Seeing how those 2 fingers plucked that Sapphire away, because in that place he made his own complete pot. His own scroll, his own idol, in his own cave being a Ba'it, right? A righteous dwelling, or a place that you go for dwelling. This is where they found the idols and things of that of the priests of Micah. They went into Micah's house being a cave, house being a dwelling place. Also relating to Adah from last week, Adah having the two children of instruments and nomadic ways of dwellings and instruments of tools and things like that. And the other Adah, because there was two, one the first named after Eve, the first woman named after Eve, the other one being the birth mother, or the birth lineage of Eliphaz being one that tried to take out Jacob via Esau, right? So all that, that's why we got to go through all that and understand the natural so we can see the supernatural, as in why was Sapphire there. But that's also knowing and keeping in mind that we have to keep the birth right. The birth, that part, that's it. We got to keep the birth right of a thing, of everything, in order to know how to go. Because outside of that, what are you doing? Using your own judgment, saying, oh no, Leah was more important than Rachel. No, Bilhah and Zilpah shouldn't even be talked about. Like, what do you mean? Why are you even taking this out of order? Because there's something that they want to be hidden that can't be, that shouldn't be. Because, oftentimes our anxiety is thinking that Yahweh didn't give us something to know. It's really simple. He gave us, Dan, don't go through this door. Don't go into that house. For those that saw the video way back, don't go into that house. Don't even go into that house. Dan. Through the eye of a thing, right? Through an image of a thing. Through a door to maturity. You got an option. You got a choice. Removing judgment from all of our life. And now that you remove judgment, don't put judgment back on there. Look back on your whole life and see. All right, take judgment off of that. You see somebody that's just trying in a place of chance to make a choice. For proper preparation prevents poor performance. Judgment ain't in none of that. Right? It's a mindset through righteous counsel that you have and that you get. That leads you to the righteous place. That gives you the views of things. That helps you see the mindset of the garden. Right? We got to keep the mindset of the garden. If you don't, we see what happens with that from Ezekiel. We went to Ezekiel 1, and I believe Ezekiel 28 did we go to as well? Right? Yeah, if you're putting all these ingredients back in the pot. Ezekiel, let's go back to Ezekiel. All right, be serious. Was Ezekiel 28? Yeah. Each testament of the patriarch gives you that sort of comparison from other perspectives in life. Exactly, because through those 12 guidelines, they got to cover perspectives, right? They got to. But yeah, seeing how all that comes together in Ezekiel, all throughout Ezekiel, for real. Like, Ezekiel 1, 4, 28, all the way through. For real. But you see how after, like, you knew the mindset of the garden. That's what we were looking for. No, that wasn't even in there. The Lamentations of Tyrus. Yes, chapter 28. Yes, it was. Yes, 28 verse 13. Thou hast been in the Eden, the garden of Elohim. Right? And coming out of that garden, that's where you can read the Lamentations for Tyrus, right? That's where it comes from. Each chapter, each verse relates to a chapter, the chapter to the next. There has to be a correlation. Don't get sluggish in it and miss it. Ezekiel, Isaiah, Revelation sing together. Exactly. All the way down to Micah, all the way back down to them 4, 5, 12, 15 of them. Hezekiah, Obadiah, all through there. Nahum, Zechariah, can't forget about Zechariah. Yeah, for sure. It goes all through there, right? So yeah, with knowing all that, bringing all that together, all that in the pot of the campfire, we read now Dan and what Dan had to say about all that, right? And still ending with telling them, hey, you're gonna be cut off. Just like you're still gonna be cut off. But yeah, let's read Dan. Read through that. When we get to chapter 5 of the Testament of Dan, we're gonna read 1 Corinthians 2. And then we'll finish out the last couple chapters of the testaments of the 12 patriarchs. And then we gonna put the fire. No, we ain't gonna put I don't even like saying that. we gonna let it marinate in prayer. How about that? Just letting Big Bruder know the order of things too for you, sir. So the Testament of Dan, chapter 1. All praises. See, it even says right here. This is what threw me off. This is what started it, right? Yeah, let it simmer. It says the seventh son of Jacob and Bilhah. I was like, what? How does, no, that's not how it works. You know, that's what started, and I couldn't even wrap my mind around it. I kept trying, and y'all was like, you better stop before you get thrown off somewhere. You're going to put something in your mind that ain't supposed to be there. Leave the judgment alone. Stay in the birth order. Easier said than done, right? Easier said, easier done, more so. Right? But even right there, when I read it, I was like, whoa, well, I just had a whole spiel, am I? No. But yeah, chapter 1. It says, the copy of the words of Dan, which he spoke to his sons, right? In his last days, in the 125th year of his life. For he called together his family and said, listen to my words, you sons of Dan, and give heed to the words of your father. I have proved in my heart and in my whole life that truth with just dealing is righteous. That truth with just dealing. Not just dealing, but just dealing. Like righteous dealing, but solely dealing. Solely realization, solely being aware. So it's saying the whole life that with truth and dealing is righteous and well-pleasing to all of him. That's all you need. You don't need to put your judgment on it. That's what he was telling his sons. That's what I realized, right? And that lying and anger are evil. Because lying plus anger gives you judgment. Judgment is evil. Judgment gets you cut off from the seal. It causes indigestion. Because they teach man all wickedness. They lead them through that door, right? Verse 4, I confess therefore this day to you, my children, that in my heart I resolved on the death of my brother Joseph, the true and righteous man. And he also rejoiced that he was sold. Verse 6, for the spirit of jealousy and vainglory said to me, you yourself are also his son. So why did I, that thing, that judgment. Verse 7, and one of the spirits of Balaam stirred me up, saying, right, because one of the spirits of the fallen spirits will throw something at you, a thing that's threw off somebody else and said, take this. No, that ain't work. All right, what about this? No, not that. All right, what about this? Dang, he's pretty strong. What about this? Oh, he knocked him down. Oh, but he getting back up. What about this? They don't know. They only know what you say out loud. It's a lot. All right. Let's see. The spirit of jealousy and vainglory said to me, you yourself are also his son. And one of the spirits of Balaam stirred me up, saying, take his sword and slay Joseph with it, so your father will love you when he is no longer here. Now this is the spirit of anger that persuaded me to crush Joseph as a leopard crushes a kid. There's a lot behind the ways of an animal. Actually, the ways of an old lion and a lion, right? Because when the lion also dealing with Dan, the old lion is correlated to Dan as well. When the old lion is in the pride, right? And he gets older, he gets challenged, he loses, right? He gets chased out and forced to walk alone. But that's also a two-way street. You can see it as walking alone, or you can see it as final destination, right? But he must walk alone, just constantly roaring, looking for a purpose, lost his purpose, That's also an old lion that's related to Dan as well. Dan also being a lion, being a start of a thing, having Yahavada, but having Yahavada at Dan, right? The one door, not the Yahavada at Dan, right? Type thing. But verse 9 of chapter 1. But the Elohim of my fathers did not permit him to fall into my hands, so that I should find him alone and slay him, and cause a second tribe to be destroyed in Yahashua. A second tribe? What does it mean? Oh, okay. A guideline that should be taken out, like in Revelation 7. Okay. Chapter 2. And now, my children, behold, I am moving on from here, and I tell you of a truth, that unless you keep yourselves from the spirit of lying and of anger, and love the truth and long suffering of a thing, you will perish. For anger is blindness, and does not permit one to see the face of any man with truth. And really listen to this part. Anger is a blindness. Come on now. Anger is a blindness that does not permit one to see the face of any man with truth. For though it may be a father or a mother, he behaves towards them as enemies. Though it may be a brother, he does not know him. Though it may be a prophet of Yahweh, he disobeys him. Though a righteous man, he does not regard him. Because anger doesn't even regard you. Anger just simply takes you over. Doesn't even ask how you doing, how your day been. Anger comes in and just takes you over. Anger don't even ask about you. Salah. He does not. That was heavy. All right. He disobeys him, though a righteous man, something just hit you, just throw you off. Really did. He does not regard him, though a friend, he does not acknowledge him. For the spirit of anger encompasses him with the net of deceit. The spirit of anger encompasses him with the net of deceit. Right? So you're catching, you're thinking you're going to be all right. It's deceitful. You're not going to be all right, because through that door, you still got to go through another one. Right? Whether you choose to now or not or later, Salah on that. And blinds his eyes, and through lying darkens his mind. So the spirit of anger encompasses him with the net of deceit, and blinds his eyes, and through lying darkens his mind, and gives him his own peculiar vision, judgment, right? And with which encompasses it his eyes, Salah, with hatred of heart, so as to be envious of his brother, right? And also anger troubles itself. We're going to chapter 3. Anger troubles itself. It doesn't even acknowledge you, and it troubles itself, and it gets you to judgment, right? Chapter 3, for anger is an evil thing, my children, for it troubles even the soul itself, and it makes the body of the angry man its own, and it gets the mastery over his soul, and it bestows power on the body that it may work all iniquity. And when the body does not do all these things, the soul justifies, and when the body does all these things, the soul justifies what is done, since it does not see right. Right? Eyes, ayan, image, right? The direction of the Father, a push, right? Therefore, he that is wrathful, if he is a mighty man, has a threefold power in his anger. A threefold. We already know why. One, by the help of his servants. All right. A second, by his wealth, whereby he persuades and overcomes wrongfully. So the wealth is impacted by his servants and is overcomes wrongfully. So you see the weight and everything right there, right? Yeah, see, exactly. And thirdly, having his own natural power, he thereby works the evil. Because what's your own natural, right? Verse 5, and though the wrathful man may be weak, yet he has a power twofold of that which is by nature. For wrath always aids in such lawlessness. The spirit always goes with lying at the right hand of the adversary, that with cruelty and lying the works may be worked. It's pretty much throwing it all out there for you to know, ain't it? Verse chapter 4. We're looking at the difference in authority, right? Don't get stuck in search of power. Stay in a stand of authority. The other man is also upon his children, all who are multiples of his works. Exactly. Like all the works of Jacob and his hands and everything like that. It goes all the way down. It gets patriarchal. So to understand patriarchal, to us this again, helping put all these words together, helping me, righteous counsel. It's great to have righteous counsel. So that way, you come before people with decency and order as well. The judgment of a man is also upon his children. Yes. Big con. As we read. As they try to even hide and switch up. Possibly, it's a theory. Chapter 4, therefore understand the power of wrath that is vain. For it first of all gives provocation by word, or provoking, right? By word. You hear something. Then by deeds it strengthens him who is angry, who already got overtaken by something that don't even care what you're doing or how you're feeling, right? And with sharp losses disturbs his mind, right? You start thinking about those things that are spotlight, not even really real, and so stirs up his soul with great wrath. Therefore, when anyone speaks against you, do not be moved to anger. Again, don't go literally eye for an eye or tooth for a tooth. Go eye for an eye, because you still realize there's a beam in yours possibly. See what that person is going through, but don't put yourself there. Hear what they said, but don't put yourself in those words, because they put a thought on you that isn't even yours. That's the spirit of attachment. Watch the spirit of attachment, because that will have you attached to a thing that's not even your issue. It's not even your problem. You stay in the work of Yah. Remember Dan, but don't remember Dan. You know what I'm saying? Testament of Testament of Jacob. I've been looking at that deeper too. Not finished, so I ain't bringing up anything I've seen so far because we got to finish everything for revealing revelation. That's what this is too, by being in the garden. But yeah, definitely. If anybody wants to jump in on studies with that too, kind of break it open. We're gonna see where that goes, right? Let's see, verse 3. Therefore, when anyone speaks against you, do not be moved to anger, and if any man praises you as holy men, do not be uplifted. And do not be moved either to delight or disgust, right? Exactly, adding your own member, right? Like also when you're hearing things and seeing these things, don't get uplifted, right? Because you're already there in that place to hear these things, to know these things, to even be here in divine timing with all of us, right? Hey, come on now, come on now. I see you. Verse 4, for it pleases the hearing, and so makes the mind keen to perceive the grounds for provocation, for provoking. And then being enraged, he thinks that he is justly angry. What is really a justful anger? What really is righteous anger? Because nowadays I don't get mad about nothing. So then it just makes me question, what is righteous anger? Or is there righteous mindset? Or is there righteous counsel? Anger and wrath is one thing, but law and guidance is another. It just depends on how you look at it. This doesn't, again, omit scripture, but it helps you look in a deeper way to see the natural so you're able to see the supernatural, to see the prism of things even deeper. All right? Because a lot of these things are words put together for the justification of man's actions. Of man's distress, of man's anxiety about a situation, seeing something and be like, man, those are just some da-da-da, or, along those lines. But really, that's not even necessary. You look and you see what's needed. You pray and you're quick to hear. And if you don't hear it, it's not on you, or it's not on you in that time. It's not your problem. But don't get to picking up stuff because you're picking up stuff and carrying stuff and then don't know where to go. And really you're panicking through anxiety. You're not even angry. You just don't know where to put stuff because you picked up something that wasn't yours. Salah. Verse 5, if you fall into any loss or ruin, my children, do not be afflicted. Okay. For this very spirit makes a man desire that which is perishable, in order that he may be enraged through affliction. AKA what we just read. And that was cool. Verse 6, if you suffer loss voluntarily or involuntarily, do not be vexed. For from vexation arises wrath with lying. Moreover, a twofold mischief is wrath with lying. Twofold, that makes up a house. Like we know in character, two things, just like by Allah, we take that one, y equals mx plus b, because it takes two things to go together. Not saying that correlates, but that's just what came to my mind. But to put the two together because it takes two to make a house. That's righteousness or wickedness, but it takes the action of the Father, as we see, through the Yad or the Lamad or the Che or the Che. It takes the Father in all these things, right? And then whatever else to make a house. Not saying the Father, what was Sis Shantae saying this? The Father doesn't look for a sin. He looks for you. Abba don't look for sin. He look for you. Salam. Verse 7, moreover, twofold mischief is wrath with lying. So now we took our anger. Anger became wrath. This is a higher thing now, right? And they assist one another in order to disturb the heart. Simeon. And when the soul is continually disturbed, Yahweh departs from it, and by law rules over it. Because again, he's not looking for sin. So it's not that he can't look upon you. He's just not looking for you in that. He knows where you are. He don't need to look for you anyway. This goes deeper and deeper and deeper as it vexes and convexes and things like that. Chapter 5. He's just spitting facts right now based off all we read about Dan. Chapter 5. Therefore observe, my children, the commandments of Yahweh and keep his law. Right? Levi, that now has sapphire. And also Yasab, that is always planted in the right position no matter what pit he's in, because it's the pit of a seed that has waters, the righteous waters flowing through, all at the same time. Because waters as we dip our hands into them, this is something cool too. It says, water does not rest. Water flows. And when you plunge your hand into it, all you feel is a caress. Water is not a solid wall. It won't stop you, but it will reflect you or deflect you. Not erasing, but looking for relation. Come on now. Come on. That's all. Mr. Miyagi. All right. Let's go to chapter 5. All praise to the Most High. The blood. Come on now. It's real. It's real. But chapter 5. Therefore observe, my children, the commandments of Yahweh, and keep his law. Depart from wrath and hate lying, that Yahweh may dwell among you, and by law may flee from you. Speak truth, each one with his neighbor, so you will not fall into wrath and confusion, but you will be in peace, having the alachem of peace, having the righteous direction, the Allah Chaim, right? The righteous direction of peace, so no war will prevail over you, because again, they're right. Like I was saying, boom, right there. What is a righteous anger? You know, if Alachem is of peace, where does his righteousness go with anger? Or does that just try to cover something that you want to put your foot in, right? But if you don't have peace and you have anger, then you have war. But if you don't have anger, there is no war. So what is this righteous anger even talking about? You see how things get thrown in there, and it can be, you know, it's no really such thing. Once you really have the view of trying to beat, that's the main goal. The object of quote unquote the object of the game is to be as close to the Messiah as you can be, right? This is what this means, and it is possible. Don't let anybody tell you that you're not, or it is impossible. It's not impossible. Perfection is possible, and in every moment that you are doing the righteous thing, that is a moment where heaven has touched earth. You know it. Let's not give that power to people that are just angry, you know, that's looking for a wrath, right? Let's keep going. Verse 3 of chapter 5. Love Yahweh, or love the nailing of the Holy Spirit, right, through the righteous direction of the Father. Love Yahweh throughout all your life, and one another with a true heart. I know that in the last days you will depart from Yahweh and provoke Levi to anger, and fight against Yahweh, but you will not prevail against them, for a messenger of Yahweh will guide them both. For by them Yahashrael will stand. And whenever you depart from Yahweh, you will walk in all evil and work the abominations of the nations, going after the ones that birth lawlessness, right? Basically the ones that implant lawlessness and release lawlessness that's been implanted, right? Of the lawless ones, while the spirits of wickedness work in you with all wickedness. Verse 6, for I have read in the scroll of Enoch, or Anache, that the righteous, that your prince is the adversaries, or your go-to is the adversaries, and that all the spirits of wickedness and pride will conspire to attend constantly on the sons of Levi, to cause them to sin before Yahweh. And my sons will draw near to Levi, and sin with them in all things. And the sons of Yahweh will be covetous, plundering other men's goods like lions, right? And also, when you see those double brackets, that's something that was added in. There's single brackets and double brackets, stuff added in and stuff taken out, type of thing. So also remember that when you're reading through the Apocrypha or the Apocryphal books. They're all the books of the scroll, but you know how things got separated over time. And even then, we should be slow to anger so that we may bring others towards the direction of truth. Exactly, because how else would they know? How else would they know? So we can't, we don't have that option. Especially now that we see the door that we're not supposed to go through. Sorry, not sorry. Let's see. Like Lions, verse 8. Therefore you will be led away with them into captivity, and you will receive all the plagues of Kemet there, all the evils of the nations. And so when you return to Yahweh, you will obtain mercy, and he will bring you into his sanctuary. So la'ah to Allah, right? You see how that switch? That's what that's talking about right there. Yep. You will, verse 9. So when you return to Yahweh, you will obtain mercy, and he will bring you into his sanctuary, his dwelling place, the right cave, and he will give you peace. And there will arise in you from the tribe of Yehovah and of Levi, or Levi, the salvation, or the salvaging, or the bringing back to remembrance of Yahweh. He will make war against Balaam, and execute an everlasting vengeance on our enemies, and he will take the captivity of Balaam, right? Basically, Ba'ait, Alav, Lamed, Alav, Ayan, Yad, Alav, Lamad. That's how that will be written out. The souls of the saints, right, which are in that wickedness, and turn disobedient hearts to Yahweh, and give consciousness. Oh, yeah. That's crazy. That's not crazy. And give continuous peace, which is consciousness. See, that's what I'm saying. Like, this ain't a defect. It ain't a defect. To them that call on him, verse 12, and the saints will rest in Eden, or rest in the garden. Side note, it's only a defect to those that have judged it improperly. I never judged it. I just absorb it, right? And the righteous will rejoice in the New Jerusalem, and it will be to the glory of Elohim forever, or the imprint of the righteous direction forever. And Jerusalem will no longer endure desolation, nor will Israel be led captive. For Yahweh will be in the midst of it, living among men, and the Holy One of Yahashrael will reign over it, in humility and in poverty, and he who believes on him will reign among men in truth. Right? Then it continues to say, draw near unto Yahweh in the last two chapters. But we're going to close with 1 Corinthians chapter 2. Right? We're going to close out with that. 1 Corinthians chapter 2. Let's see what time. We at 5 o'clock. Oh, great day. All right. 1 Corinthians chapter 2. All praises. Metaphorical mindset right here. Then we're going to close out. We're going to pray. Then we're going to play a song. And then go about our ways. You know? Well, let's read chapter 2 about the mindset that we've been talking about. And I, brethren, this is Paul to Corinth, right? A letter to Corinth from Paul. Paul then went through Paul. Paul then Pauled, even against Stephen, Yeah, time flies when you're having fun, ain't it? Chapter 2, it says, and I, brethren, when I came to you, right? Now we're going from grain of salt from realizing that the mindset of the garden is what we're supposed to have. Again, even Dan said, you're supposed to be in Eden, right? The Garden of Eden is what was Eden being the place, garden being a heart, a mindset, a place, a sapphire, that's found in the garden, all that connecting. So with all that in mind, let's read chapter 2, and it says, and I, brethren, when I came to you, came not with excellency of speech or of wisdom, declaring unto you the testimony of Elohim. For I determined not to know anything among you, except Yahashua HaMashiach, and what he went through, right? And what he left for us to know going through. Verse 3, and I was with you in weakness and in fear and in much trembling, as in he went through the same thing. Verse 4, and my speech and my preaching was not with enticing words of man's wisdom, but in demonstration of the Spirit and of power, but in demonstration of what we know, and through the spiritual aspect of things, of the mindset of the gardening, right? Because we know Paul was going against people striking with striking words, right? Yeah, it's plain and simple. Like that's what I'm saying. Once we get the mindset, everything it's a two-way street. It's two that become a house. It's like, just because it's written in the beginning how the earth came to be, we are of the earth. So therefore, it talks about our mindset as well. The require, or as they say, firmament. That's the mindset, the grass growing, the yielding seed, and the waves of the fowl of the air, and then the fish of the sea, and the beasts of the ground. This is where our mind thinks through things based on what we see through many things. All this could be two-way streets, but it's the spirit of things, and that's what Paul really did. Understanding, right? Because he had to be through that other side of things, right? But let's keep going. That your faith should not stand in the wisdom of men, but in the power of Elohim. Not in the wisdom of what you see, but in the power of what brought you what you see. In the power that brought you these stones and crystals. The power that brought you to the realization of the rivers that surround the Garden of Eden, the Euphrates, and how you're supposed to, once you realize something, you eat it up and you cast it into the border of the Euphrates, right? How these things really come together and things of that nature. Verse 6, howbeit we speak wisdom among them that are perfect, of mature, of high, of mindset that's able to hear these things, right? Yet not the wisdom of this world, con, nor of the princes of this world, con, that come to naught. But we speak the wisdom of Elohim in a mystery, even the hidden wisdom which Elohim ordained before the world unto our glory. Right? It's simple and plain right here. This looks different now, don't it? Verse 8, which none of the princes of this world knew. For had they known it, they would not have crucified the dawn of impression. They would not have erased this from their mind, right? If they knew that this is the way. Verse 9, but as it is written, eye have not seen, nor ear heard, neither have entered into the heart of man, the things which Elohim have prepared or pre-cut for them that love him, that search for him in these places, that love being out in nature, that love going out now and looking at things, that love rubbing their hands in dirt, crumbling it up and watching the dirt go back into them, you know? Exactly. We ain't necessary for him. I'm on the peace that surpasses. Yes. Yep. I'm on. Verse 10, but Elohim have revealed them unto us by his spirit. For the spirit searches all things, don't it? Yea, the deep things of Elohim. Right? That's what we dig for. Verse 11, for what man knoweth the things of a man, save the spirit of man which is in him. So for what do we even know about each other if you don't know the spirit behind the thing? If you don't know the spiritual, how are you even going to know anybody? You're casting judgment if you don't know spiritual, right? Blessed are those who have faith in the unseen and intangible. Amen. Doing the will of Yah, because that's literally the will of Yah. A place that was put here before us, a place that was grown and planted for us to be in, right? So everything is a garden. It just depends on what part of the garden you're in. Some is thicker, some is more barren, some is more thorny, some is more desolate. They call those deserts. It's still a garden. It's still a garden or garden, right? Yes, verse 10, but Elohim have revealed them unto us by his spirit. For the spirit searches all things. So by us having the spirit, we have the spirit of Elohim, of the righteous direction, because in all things he searches all things. So we are in all things. Why not search out all things, right? In the spiritual aspect, right? Verse 11, for what man knoweth the things of man, save the spirit of man which is in him? Even so the things of Elohim knoweth no man, but the spirit of Elohim. Exactly, connected through Ravah. Yep, guard the den. Come on now. Guarded place, right? So to search out these things and to see these things it's okay, and it's righteous to say that it's the spirit of Elohim, right? To search these things. So be not prideful, but in a way, right? You know what I mean? Like, let's not let these words have all these controls, because then people get to DJing and all that stuff, and next thing you know, you don't even want to speak. You know? Verse 12, now we have received not the spirit of the world, because that's what that is, right? But the spirit of which is of Elohim, the same one that out of Abraham's bosom, right? That we might know the things that are freely given to us of Elohim, which things also we speak, not in the words which man's wisdom teacheth, but which the Holy Spirit, Ravak HaKodesh, teacheth, comparing spiritual things with spiritual. Is that not what we're supposed to do? Did we forget that part? Did we get caught up in the punishment? Did we get caught up in the laws of what to do to this person? Is that what got you over there? Then you should probably let go of that and come back over here, right? This is where we can tell people and see people where they're at. You know, it helps. It helps. Verse 14, but the natural man receiveth not the things of the spirit of Elohim. So, call a spade, for they are foolishness unto him. Neither can he know, because they are spiritually discerned. Right? They're only discerned through the working of the spirit, of the righteous direction, of the Ravak HaKodesh, which is real. You know, now we have the ability to be one with the spirit. Before, Abraham and all of them, They needed an intercessor. They needed an experience. They needed a head of. They needed a Naad. They needed a Sham. They needed a Moses. They needed a Joshua. They needed a, all that. Adam. Because remember, Adam lived for 900 or something years, 982, I believe, and taught everybody, and was buried by Methuselah and Lamech, right? Like all these things still together. You got to keep these things together. And those that can't hear these things, can't receive these things, no judgment, right? It's just awareness. Because there are bad people, ignorant people, good people, and righteous people, right? There's no need for your judgment in that if you're aware of all the people. Like, what is the judgment for? What are you doing? That's where it gets to. What are you doing? Right? Verse 15, but he that is spiritual judgeth all things, right? Salah. Yet he himself is judge of no man. So is even that, see? Don't put your judgment on there too quick. Is that of man? Nah. So you're in spirit. So even then, implanting a word to make you think it's judgment, no, you're aware. If you're not of man, you're aware. Because not of man is awareness, right? Not being in the flesh is spirit, revealing. See what I'm saying? So even then, be careful with what you read. Go with the birthing of things. Because if you don't go with the birth order or the birth right, you'll put yourself in somewhere. Just like Dan did. Verse 16, for who hath known the mind of the Adon, of Yahashua HaMashiach, the mindset of the Messiah, the mindset of the garden, grounded in the garden, that he may instruct him. But we have the mind of HaMashiach, right? Of the Messiah, of Christ, right? That's the wisdom of Valakim. That is the wisdom of Valakim. All praises, all praises. Yeah, that's butt on a half, fam. All praises. To die. Of course, if anybody has anything they want to drop off or whatever like that, or things of that nature, if you need a link to this, just let me know. It's on the tube. It's on there. We family here, so somebody in the family got it. Somebody in it got it, but that was great. That was some unpacking, as me and Big Bruder say. Great to have that too. But yeah, remember Dan, but don't remember Dan. Keep knowledge of him not being in the sealed, but the children still having a chance. They just can't be of Dan. Salah. Right? Let he who is without sin cast the first stone. That part. Let he who is without sin cast the first judgment. So your first sin will be, come on now. Once you get it, you got it. And it's righteous. Get it, got it good, as they say. All praises. Oh, man. Shabbat shalom, sis. Mike Kaya. Or I'll leave right there out of respect. Great to see you. That's all right. That's awesome. Many prayers to you and yours. Also for, yes, for Shaddai as well. Yes. So, sure. Oh, man. Yeah, let's see. Nobody got anything? We're going to pray it out. Touch and agree. Oh, man. I'm on, sis. All praises. But we come before you live from the garden of awareness of your mercy, truly, and your revealings to us that makes us walk easier, simpler. Because if it simply is, it's simply true. And as we see that Dan is a house that we can't even go into because you have control of all that. If we lose control, to gain control, we'll be in anger. And anger plus lying is judgment. Now that it stands out even more. Now that it holds more impression because of your glory that's imprinted on us. But to die for giving us something to go for, to look into, to have a basis of. To know that the spirit is the way we're supposed to look at things. But being aware of other things. Because what you gave us was not for our hands to do, but for our minds to do. All praises. And also, to die for the safety of everybody coming together as we come to this campfire, to die for the health and asking for more health for our great sister, for Shaddai. And as she's going through what she is, and may you reveal what it is that you should have for her, for healing. You know, there's not much to go more than that, because your will would be the way. It makes you see your will and understanding and everything, and how to prevent whatever in procurement and provocation. May nothing provoke it again, because it is spiritual, unless that's your will, which we will not go against. But in all these things, we do thank you for the strength you're giving her to sit through everything, and the strength for everybody to sit through, even me, because you know how our minds work and run and wonder and all these things. But to die for love, because love heals it heals it all. It holds it all together. It really is you in these things. Not a spotlight, but the light of revealing. The light of taking us out of the physical ailment to realize what it is about life. Hashem Yahava, Hashem Yahashpai, Hashem Vakakodash, Aman, and Aman. And Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom. All praises, Uncle Bruder. All praises, all praises. And to die for you, you know, was understood ain't got to be explained, sir. Was understood ain't got to be explained. But Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Everybody coming in. It's on you, Big Bruder. Whenever you got it, you know, just drop on in. I'll catch it. Yeah, to die, everybody.
You already know. I already had it queued up. Shabbat Yah Shalom, everybody. Campfire, place where we get to grow as a body. You hear me? So if you have a lesson, like he always tell y'all, come up. It's not just about one of us sitting here talking. Man, everybody's welcome. If you got something to add, what's a great meal without some great dessert? So don't be afraid. You're more than welcome. That's it, like we always say, right? Big, yeah, big we is us. You know me. Either I'm quiet or I got a couple of things to say. One or two. But
I'm gonna sit down and be quiet.
The music up, though. I think you're gonna like this one. If it come up, there you go.